Well, the talking points have been disseminated. Media swooped to defend Kamala Harris in lockstep. So she had a disastrous interview with Brett on Fox. We watched it together. If you haven't seen that full interview with us when we did it live, you got to go check it out because it was a blast. Brett used her weird face as like a punching bag going, brrr, and she was just, oh, God, Donald Trump. It's Trump's fault. Trump this and Trump that. That's Donald Trump's fault. Right? She's just going back and forth. She couldn't answer any questions. I mean, how could you when a guy's just using you as a punching bag and Brett's just like, so within hours of Vice President Kamala Harris's appearance on Fox News, it became clear that the legacy media outlets had all received their pre-written talking points and their marching orders. This is going back quite a bit. Do y'all remember when the email was leaked and there was like this list that had all these talking points and scripts being sent out to all these media outlets and Democrats? Do y'all remember that? And they all had the same thing. And that's why you see those like montages of like 20 news stations and the script is exactly the same thing.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Is because they're probably doing that again. They're all connected. They're all interwoven. They're all being ran by the deep state. And they're all getting the same script. So she gets just slapped around by Brett Baier. And the media come out and start massaging, right? The shoulders. Oh, Kamala's so great. Brett's so terrible. Here's one individual. I figured Brett would be tough. I didn't think he would be downright rude and disrespectful. The VP did great. She's strong. She's nice, and he was scared. He's a bully. I added a few things in there if you're listening on audio, but she did say the VP did great. She is strong. He is scared. Brett was trying not to laugh. I don't think the guy was scared at all. He was like, this is easier than I thought. You love how like finally they go, well, he was rude and disrespectful because he gave back to her what the media been doing to Donald Trump since 2015. Like this whole idea that because he was interrupting her, trying to get a question in. Mind you, bitch, she was late to her own freaking interview by over 15 minutes. Mind you, you're supposed to start at 5 and your team picked the time and you were still late. And don't act like, well, she's busy. She has a lot going on. She can't even make it to a Democrat dinner. She can't even sit there and make it to the border in 3.5 years. She's not busy. She hasn't done anything. In the same way, Joe Biden, what's your excuse for him? He's been on vacation at least 40% of his presidency. And that number's being generous. There's never been a sitting president that's taken more vacation time than him. Kamala Harris, well, who knows what she's been doing, but allegedly she's been in the room making all the decisions along with Joe Biden, but she's going to separate herself. We got to turn the page, you guys. We got to turn the page from what has been so we could be unburdened by what has been. Well, they're going to say that he was just disrespectful and rude, but there's no concept to the media, the legacy media for the last, I don't know, almost a decade with Donald Trump. So here they are. Here's CNN and a bunch of other buffoons.
Hadass, good to see you both. I want to ask you, Brian, about this other moment between Kamala Harris and Brett Baier. It was over whether Trump, his comments about the enemy from within and so on. Let's play that and talk about it on the other side.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within.
It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because They made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick and they're so evil.
Well done,
Yeah,
Trump.
I mean, Brian, obviously what we showed there was the moment that Bret Baier showed Vice President Harris during the interview, and then the actual moment that occurred during that town hall that he should have shown during the interview. What did you make of that?
The town hall was...
Isn't it rich that CNN's trying to critique Fox News with Brian Stelter on the camera with Jim Acosta? Those two nut jobs are going to lecture anybody about journalism? Really? Really? Gosh. Stop.
Softball. The Harris interview was hardball, and that's to be expected from Fox because it is an extension of the Trump campaign. That's why it's so notable.
Stop. CNN, the same site that still to this day says we're unbiased, we're most trustworthy news. I can't even believe they rehired this guy. Look at, you give bald people a bad name, Brian.
That Harris showed up and did the interview. But what she was doing, whether by reading the URL for her website or pointing out Trump's actual claims, she was trying to get information through to a pro-Trump audience that rarely hears it. There's these excuses being made for Trump's...
We rarely hear this. Brian, not the Brian in the chat, Brian Stelter. We grew up in leftist territory through the education system, through the entertainment industry, listening to the media. Every avenue and facet of our life has been in some way, shape, or form being manipulated or being observed, looking at leftist policies and progressive policies. That is why we know the left better than the left knows the right, because we grew up. They don't sit there and reach out to conservatives. They're not taught in the school system about conservative values or what a Republican is. They don't sit there and learn that in the media or as hell, predominantly the Hollywood, the entertainment industry. So don't give me this of like, oh, well, they don't ever know what the left's talking about. They don't ever hear from Kamala. Folks, how often do we hear Kamala here on the show? Every day? Haven't they got every day? Do we play? I think our first, second, third article almost every day is about Kamala and how she's an idiot.
Enemies comments. People like, even on this network are sometimes pretending that Trump's only talking about Marxists and communists. That's not true. He's talking about Democratic politicians, media companies, tech companies. Trump is very clearly threatening to exact retribution if he's elected next year.
Of course you're freaking out because you sat there and used the law to go against your political opponents, and they're scared that it's going to happen to them, and rightfully so. And by the way, that's not what Trump was talking about. Trump was talking about the gang members, the MS-13 violent gang members, the ones that are taking over apartment complexes. Their names slip in my mind. You also have the people that are murdering our women and children and raping them as well. I mean, that's just the stuff we know about. Can you imagine the women and children that are currently locked up right now, or the 350,000 that were allegedly sold off into forced labor as slaves around the world? There's more slavery happening today than actually the height of slavery. Let that one sink in. I'd also like to point out, Brian, since you don't have a half a brain cell left in your head, just like Joe Biden. What's going on with the other children that weren't sold off into forced labor? So, it's sex trafficking, Brian. Yeah, that's right. It's sex trafficking. But remember, all these people are good. They're here for a better life. I mean, we do an article every day about how these people are murdering people, running them over with their cars, stabbing them, shooting them, killing them, all these things. But, CNN wants to be a shill for the Democrat Party, always. You also have this in lockstep. So again, it's astonishing how they all have the same exact phraseology here, is it not? Harris interview on Fox gets testy by NPR. Kamala Harris spars with Fox News anchor in testy CNN. AP News is marked by testy exchange. The Hollywood Reporter opens with testy exchange. Weird. Harris vows break from Biden in testy Fox News, interview. Like, how often do we use that word? How often? When was the last time you even used the word testy? I was close the other day when I did a short and a video of how Joe Biden did a physical and they grabbed his balls. I mean, that's pretty close to testicles. I was probably closer than a lot of other people using that word. Mr. President, cough. And his dentures fly out. Where'd your balls go?